This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, and it's our first in-person office meeting since COVID hit, which is awesome. And I know a lot of people had told me that they would not be able to make it here in person. They're used to having it all online. What I'm doing is recording this, and so hopefully people will have that opportunity to at least see what we are talking about today. And let's get going with this. So sharing my screen. Better put the glasses back on. And today we're going to be talking a lot about what's happening in the market. And obviously there has been a big change as to what we're starting to see. I mean, I should say, it's starting to see some changes across our market, our local market, as well as in the national realm. And so just to start with, we're seeing that broker contacts are reporting a continuation of robust demand and intense competition from buyers to win houses. We're seeing this locally with bidding wars, all cash offers, waived contingencies, and rent-free leasebacks. And this is across the country. It's increasingly common in many, many markets. It's the reality of what we've seen since COVID hit, and with people very anxious to buy property in places they want to live, and yet recognizing that they can work from home. And the reality is people want homes, and that's what we're seeing. So as far as seller traffic across the country, very, very interesting. This is what's happening, and we've all been talking about this for a long time, lack of inventory. And so with seller traffic here, we are seeing that in most states across the country, there's hardly any inventory. The dark gray is very, very weak listings, very few listings. The bright blue, which are none, is very strong. And you can see it's basically West Virginia and Hawaii that have strong seller traffic. But the rest of the country is fairly balanced, or mostly very weak, with listings across the country. And so that's what we're seeing here. But in contrast, what is buyer traffic? Where are buyers? And we are seeing across the country very, very strong buyer demand in almost every state. A few states here and there, it's strong, but lots and lots of demand across the country. People want houses, people want a home, people want a place to live. They're recognizing that. So Realtor.com has a really interesting quote here. They're saying, in this Wild West environment, buyers are doing anything they can to stand out, and more, all cash offers do just that. It can mean the difference between getting that dream home or winding up empty-handed again. And we're all seeing this over and over. I mean, in our market, I see multiple offers coming in, and the cash offer usually winning over financed, even if the financed offer is stronger. There's always concerns on home appraising. There's concerns on having a financing contingency as another out. And the buyer's looking at, cash is king, cash is assured. We're having people, it's very frustrating, I know, for people who are first-time home buyers who need to finance to actually get anything. And that's really, really challenging right now. I'm seeing in some cases, first-time home buyers being parents buy the house. And then once they, with cash, and then once they live in the home and they own it themselves, they're refinancing, paying mom and dad back. So
I'm seeing that some of my clients I have don't want to sell the house.
They don't want to sell the house, yeah.
Because they're afraid they can't get a new one. They want to go buy the new house before they sell the old one, but that's not a strong enough offer.
That's right. Contingent offers are definitely an issue for anybody right now in this market. If you can't jump forward, if you have a contingency on having to sell them that's not yet in pending status, sell through contingencies, it's a weaker offer, obviously, and people recognize it.
If they were higher prices, people still.
Yeah, they're not interested. They just want to have the sure thing. Yeah.
In some situation like that, do you think you'd be able to maybe have the seller just say, like, write that in their offer, like, for a buyer? Do people do that, to where, like, I want to stay in this house after I sell it to you, like the Rentback thing?
Oh yeah, they're doing that. Yeah, Rentbacks are
so
very.
you don't have to worry about the contingency.
Rent backs are very normal in giving the seller free rent after closing to move. In one case, we have a deal who's in contract right now. The seller has a 9-month rent back because the buyer doesn't really need to move into the house yet, but the seller is building a new home. And so if the rent back is why the new home is being built. And so this is the way that that buyer, because hardly any buyer is willing to do that long a period of time of not having occupancy of a home they've legally closed on, but it worked out for our buyer, and so it was a win-win for both parties in this case. But yeah, it's a normal thing here.
I'm also saying free of rent.
Yeah, free rent.
Basically, they have the house for 90 days.
Yeah. We're usually seeing the seller rent back after closing I shouldn't say rent back, occupancy after closing, because if it's more than 90 days, it has to be a rental, which is a whole different ball of wax. But they're doing the up to 90 days rent free, no payment. After 90 days, I'm seeing people writing in, you're going to pay me a couple $1,000 a month, something at least to cover the overhead costs for that buyer. Because if they're getting a loan, or if they have, they're still obligated to do property taxes and insurance and HOA fees and all that sort of stuff that any buyer would be obligated to do. So here's a thing here about the months of inventory of homes for sale for the last 12 months. Now this figure here, this chart here is reflecting across the country. And so we're seeing that last May we had 4.6 months of inventory across the country. And we dropped down in December and January to 1.9 months. I mean, that is obviously an inventory crisis for the entire country. There's a little bit of a creep back of 2.4 months in April. So we're at least moving in the proper direction right now. We'll have to see how this works out. I mean, there was at the beginning of the year, we'll talk about this next, in the next section here. What's happening with home appreciation? So now we're looking here, this figure is for March of 2021 year over year. So just looking at March, compared March of 2021 with March of 2020. And we're looking at housing increases of 13.9% across the country. The same time last year, we're looking at about 10%. So still an increase of what's going on here. Again, home appreciation is happening, lack of supply, limited inventory, supply and demand. It's what we learned in high school economics or college economics. It's when there's great demand and a little bit of supply, prices go up. It's because people are willing to spend more to get what they need. So what is the home price forecast for 2021? And again, this is reflected of, if you look at the Mortgage Brokers Association, a 10.3% price increase. NAR is predicting a 9.2%, Fannie Mae 8%, Zelman 7%, and Freddie Mac 6.6%, with an 8.2% average for all price forecasts for 2021. So again, the experts are predicting prices are going to continue to rise. So where are we seeing the greatest price appreciation? And this, to me, is fascinating. If you look year over year for Q1 of 2021, so comparing Q1 of 2020 with Q1 of 2021, for buyers who want new construction. So it's a challenge for a lot of people.
At the recent core meeting, they were saying Polish won't accept your purchase offer until the house is completed.
Yeah.
And then they put it out for offers.
Yes. And we're seeing, a couple brokers came to me, it's like, here's new construction, it's a house that's available. Do you think I should offer over? Find out from the listing agent. Are they accepting the first offer that comes in at asking price, or are they like any other seller right now? Is it a bidding war for new construction too? And if you put your hat on as a seller of new construction, yeah, you're gonna wanna get the best price you possibly can. Absolutely.
I was told, I
Yeah.
talked to somebody
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah.
the Polish home.
Yeah.
She said, so do you have a lot of interest? Just trying to feel out the situation. She's like, we follow the current market trends. So if you're offering more on any other home, then you would offer more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the reality of what we're dealing with. Okay. But we have a strong conviction that we are not experiencing a bubble in the United States housing. We are not at all suggesting that home price appreciation will maintain its current torrid pace. I like that word, torrid. Home prices will continue to rise, but more gradually. And that is a strategy for Morgan Stanley. That's what they believe is going to happen. Things will start leveling out. We can hope, having some predictability about things, having prices, and we have people, we have we have a deal in contract that's 500,000 over asking price to get the deal, and it's insane, to have to go to that level, but that is the reality of what we're seeing right now.
What's the initial price?
It was a high-end property. Yeah, it's obviously a high-end property. So let's talk about housing affordability. Now, this is not affordable homes. We're talking about is housing affordable as a percentage of the economy and as a percentage of a general buyer's or homeowner's income. Is housing affordable? So we talked about affordable homes. They're not there right now in Bend for sure for first-time home buyers, but housing affordability. And we've talked about this before. And, believe it or not, on a statistical basis, and this is the chief economist at First American, housing affordability on a year-over-year basis declined in March for the first time since January of 2019. That means prices are getting too high, ending a more than 2-year streak of rising affordability. We had rising affordability for several years because interest rates were so low, mortgage interest rates, think about that. So house buying power is likely to remain robust in the months to come, but affordability trends will likely hinge on changes in nominal house price appreciation. So as houses become more expensive and we're starting to see a little uptick in interest rates, that means that the affordability of a home becomes less. So with that, looking back at the bubble years, house prices exceeded house buying power in 2006 nationally. But today, house buying power is nearly twice as high as the median sales price nationally. Many find it hard to believe, but housing is actually undervalued in most markets, and the gap between house buying power and house sales price indicates there's room for further house price growth in the months to come. This is nationally, this is not necessarily in Bend. So a lot of markets. So we talk about it. My sister, she lives in San Diego. She is going to be moving to South Carolina, where her son moved a few months ago. And this is her one granddaughter lives with her son and daughter-in-law. They just moved to South Carolina. She's going to sell her house, her 1,100 square foot house, which is a starter home in San Diego and Poway. Price would probably be around 700,000 starting asking price. She probably will get 750, I would think. And for 750, her equity in there will probably be 500,000. She'll be able to buy a really nice house in South Carolina for cash. Because again, the affordability aspect of that whole thing is going to be a win for her. And I'm excited for her moving forward on that. So here is the Affordability Index from 1990 to today. The higher the figure, the better. So if you look at the orange in there, that's when distressed properties dominated the market. That was after the crash that we had. And that's when homes were very, very affordable. Think of what you could buy for 700,000 back in 2010. You know, it was, you were getting a phenomenal house. Nowadays, 700,000 in Bend is what, a little better than a starter home. You know, it's crazy, but you're starting to see a slight change to that now. We are still very affordable, but we're starting to see a change. But what is the percent of median income needed to purchase a medium priced home? So again, national statistics. If you look in 2006, when we had the housing boom prior to the bubble bursting, it was 25.4%. Today, it's only 14.4%. Is historically, this is why they're saying it's historically low compared to, I mean, think about people's incomes have gone up too over these years since 2006 to today. People are earning more money, just generally speaking. So contrary to popular belief, owning one's own home is frequently more affordable than renting. It is cheaper to buy a home than it is to rent in 2/3 of American counties. So in some places, you still need to rent because it's more affordable. But for most people, buying a home, and as we know, buying a home is the start of financial freedom for most people. If you look at the median asking rent from 1990 to 2020, look at what's happened to rent. And we know that that's the case here in our market. We know how much rent has gone up in value and how much people are getting for property. I'm always amazed that people can afford rent. You know, most people who are looking to rent something are usually working an entry-level job, or they just don't have enough to put a down payment together. So looking at options for people, I mean, most people want to have homes. So we need to stop seeing housing as a reward for financial success, instead see it as a critical tool that can facilitate financial success. Affordable homeownership is not the capstone of economic well-being, it is the cornerstone. And that is very, very true. Look at homes with at least 50% equity across the country. So we now have 17.8 million homes with a mortgage that have at least 50% equity. 17.8 million homes. 31.9% residential properties with a mortgage were at least 50% equity, and then 38% of all homes are owned free and clear. There's a lot of people who have a lot of wealth in their property, in their home. So let's think about what are top financial institutions saying about all this. So let's look about JP Morgan from Insight's report. So home buyers, interest rates are still historically low, though they are inching up. Housing prices have spiked during the last 6 to 9 months, but we don't expect them to fall soon, and we believe they are more likely to keep rising. If you're looking to purchase a new home, conditions now may be better than 12 months hence. Those who remember the housing bubble of 2006, 2007 may be nervous watching U.S. housing prices soar now, but the previous bubble was fueled by speculative buying, which we do not think is the case today, and that is true. We don't see people speculate on things. People are buying for home to live in, or it's an investment property. We don't see people buying to flip. We just don't see that at all. And here, this is Merrill Lynch. There are reasons to believe that this is likely to be an unusually long and strong housing expansion. Demand is very strong because the biggest demographic cohort in history is moving through the household formation and peak home buying stages of this life cycle. We're talking millennials. Coronavirus-related preference changes have also sharply boosted home buying demand. At the same time, supply is unusually tight, with available homes for sale at record low levels. Double-digit price gains are rationing the supply. So again, these are the top financial people, Merrill Lynch, and then there's one more, Goldman Sachs. Strong demand for housing looks sustainable. Even before the pandemic, demographic tailwinds and historically low mortgage rates had pushed demand to high levels. Consumer surveys indicate that household buying intentions are now the highest in 20 years. As a result, the model projects double-digit price gains both this year and next. So we're looking at more of the same. These are what the experts are saying. Morgan Stanley, unlike 15 years ago, the euphoria in today's home prices comes down to the simple logic of supply and demand. And we at Morgan Stanley conclude that this time the sector is on a sustainably sturdy foundation. This robust demand and highly challenged supply, along with tight mortgage lending standards, may continue to bode well for home prices. Higher interest rates and post-pandemic moves could likely slow the pace of appreciation, but the upward trajectory remains very much on course. So in other words, these top financial people say, we're bullish on housing, right? That's what they always say. And most Americans agree. So this is America's choice of the best long-term investment. 41% think it's real estate. Stocks, 26%, gold, 18%, savings account. Who's thinking savings account? That's only, and bonds. And if you look at the 41% choosing real estate is the highest selecting any of the 5 investment options in the 11 years Gallup has been asking this question. So this is a Gallup poll. So they've been asking the same question for 11 years. So look at this actual poll. It used to be back in 2011, this is when the height of the financial crisis, gold was what people thought was the best investment. But real estate passed that up in 2013, and it's obviously been on a tear since that point in time. So that's what people think. And any thoughts about this from anybody? This is the national trend. This is what we're seeing on a nationwide basis. And again, think about our clients. They're coming from different parts of the country. Did everyone have a chance to know that article that was in the paper on Sunday about where people are coming from? Very interesting.
35% from California.
A lot of people from California, people who basically, it was a data was where people are giving up their driver's licenses when they move to Oregon. What state did they come from?
Texas,
Texas,
Arizona, Florida, Washington, and California.
Yeah.
And California was, I think it was 35 or 38%.
It was the number one was California. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Why don't people live in Texas?
I don't know.
Because your ass off in winter.
You know, yeah, there's still a lot of people moving to Texas, and you know that they gained 2 House seats because of the census change in the last 10 years. A lot of businesses and stuff. But
Big tech has moved there.
Yeah.
And it's become crowded. It was inexpensive last year, but this year it's gone through the roof. Just like I'm talking Austin.
Yeah.
Texas is a pretty big state, but I've got friends there and I've got a client moving from
Yeah.
there. Because it's just too crowded.
Yeah. So at Texas, it's a booming area. You know, I met a gentleman from Texas, from Austin, who was in Maui, kept on running into, he was vacationing on his own. So it was kind of interesting I gave him some ideas of places to go and see. He's a really nice guy, really very nice person, but kept on running into him. He was in Hana, stayed in Hana. Then we were on South Maui, it's like, he's having dinner over there. It's like, oh, hi, Justin, how you doing? Small world. Yeah, personally, Texas is a great state, but it doesn't have our geographical, variety. It's a flat state that is hot and has big cockroaches and it does.
Well, it'd be good to know how many people are actually leaving there.
Yeah, not that many.
Not enough.
That's a number I'd like to see.
Well,
Most people, where are they going?
he said the moving company told him 25 before they were leaving. I don't know if that's true.
I was talking with Rob. He has some long-term clients, and they're going to move to. They're leaving Bend. They're going to go to, where was it? Some place where they have less crowds, and a place where they feel that their ideology is better received. So there's been a lot of changes in ideology in Central Oregon with the influx of people from California, and a lot of people aren't happy with those changes. So long-term residents, who.
I think it's easier to move now.
It is. Yeah, it is very much so. So the question here is what's going on with us in our local market and what's happening with us as a company itself. So this is comparing Bend Premier from May of 2021 with May of 2020. Now, May of 2020 was a phenomenal year for us. It was our best year ever. And we're on pace to just shine that one on, and beat it a lot. So we had an increase of 135% of listings of May 2020 to May of 2020. I keep on looking at our listings active on MLS. I'm always like, we don't have any listings, but it's because as soon as we get them, they go. We had an increase of 24% in pending contracts. We had an increase of 35% in closed contracts, and our volume was double. So that means the homes we are selling are worth more. And our year-to-date figure, year-to-date in 2020, we had done 146 closings, and in 2021, 212. So it's pretty fascinating to see where we're on pace to do. I was talking with Kate yesterday at the end of the day, and she's like, it's like everything's $1 million nowadays. We were talking.
But hey, when you look at the buyers and closed deals, my sense is they're millennials. And a lot of people I talk to are actually millennials coming out in California with money.
Absolutely.
And, when you're 30 years old, you can buy $1 million home. That's pretty successful.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that 20 years ago.
Totally. You're totally right, Bill. It is true. We are having a lot of young people with money. A lot of young
A lot
people.
more money than I thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is where Bend Premier is. If you can see this well enough, this is the data I always pull from MLS. And this is Bend residential, and the MLS data, this includes Sun River. So when I do my data, I'm not looking at Sun River, because it's a different market altogether. But you can see with Bend residential, what's happening with the numbers of listings. It's nice to see new listings exceeding sold listings. That's a plus. We're starting to see that happening. We're also seeing active listings creeping upward, and that's good. However, we see listing prices starting to adjust a little bit. And I don't know if you noted how, we'll go to another slide on that. In April, the median sales price in Bend for a single family residential on less than an acre was $651,000. It's down a little bit in May. So it's, that's the median sales price. So are we starting to see some adjustments in pricing? Yeah, we are starting to see some adjustments on pricing. Absorption rate, we've kind of reached the bottom of that. Still really strong seller's market, but starting to level off at 3 weeks. 3 weeks, gone up from 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sold to list ratio, yes, things are selling at 140% of asking price. Things selling over asking, bidding wars, pushing prices up, absolutely. And yeah, things are starting to adjust. Days on market, significantly down. And then price volume again, new list volume up over 300 million. It's pretty interesting. So here's the figures that I always look at, comparing apples to apples. So May of 2021 versus 2020 for Bend single family residential. Active listings down 71% compared with 2020. But new listings up, that's a good thing, up 5.4%, a little bit more comfort. I'm hoping as we move out of the COVID fear that more sellers will be feeling comfortable to put their homes on market. New up 175%. That's amazing. I mean, people are buying like hotcakes. Solds up 54%. And again, sold volume up 106%. So again, the value of homes being sold are way, way up. Average sales price, $715,000, average sales price, up 30% over the same month a year ago. And then the median sales price at $628, which is down from last month, which was at $651, as I said, but it's up 40% over the year before. And the percentage of list price to sales price were up 6%, again, selling at 104.7% over asking price. A month's supply, roughly 3 weeks supply versus last year when we had just under 4 months. So this is kind of the reality of our market right now. And I really would like to know kind of what you guys are seeing out there. Are you starting to see a little slight shift? I'm starting to feel that myself. I saw on MLS there was a lot of homes that are starting to have price adjustments.
Some price adjustment for the first time or something.
Yeah, people are starting to, I think a lot of people priced extremely aggressively. The market's what it is. We're going to capture all kinds of money. We're going to make a gazillion dollars, and they priced, I don't want to give up any listing. You tell your client, the market shows it's going to be this. We could try this, but you're better off pricing it at market and having people bid it up as opposed to pricing too high and have people ignore it. Because it's, even though, yes, we have a strong seller's market, people are still not crazy going to be spending that kind of money over asking price, over what the market shows it's properties.
You're seeing Northwest Crossing, 2,100 square feet for $1.2 million.
Yeah.
600 square foot.
Yeah. Well,
One of the things that Wall Street Journal was doing a series on housing.
Mhm.
Something that's kind of hidden in the background is my generation, boomers,
Mhm.
are not leaving their houses now.
right.
And this pandemic has reinforced to them,
Mhm.
stay home, get care come into you,
Mhm.
don't go to assisted care.
Yeah.
So that was always a source of supply for people moving up through the market. So the top end of the end of the pipe is blocked, and the millennials are pouring in the bottom.
Yeah.
And the pipe is bulging in the middle, looking for full of buyers.
That's an interesting thing I hadn't heard of. I know a lot of sellers, older sellers aren't selling, but I hadn't thought about maybe fear of going into a
If
assisting.
you're in a nursing home
Yeah.
business now after this pandemic, you got to be looking at your books.
They rely upon,
Would you check out and go live in assisted care if you had a choice not to?
if I had a choice not to,
Yeah.
if I had the wealth to be able to afford having people come and take care of me at my home.
The house is being appraised
Yeah.
so high.
And if you think about it, you take out a reverse mortgage,
Yeah.
you've got money coming in to
Reverse
cover.
mortgages are on the upswing.
Yeah,
And it makes a lot of sense,
Uh-huh.
really, if just for personal safety and security.
but that's a good point, Bill. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't read
I'm
that.
just looking at the end of the pipe.
Yeah. Well, you're right. So if the boomers are not selling their homes and moving into retirement properties, those homes are sitting there, and those are great homes.
Beautiful on the
Yeah.
millennials. Look at Aubrey Butte.
Yeah.
A year or 2 years ago,
Mhm.
those queens on Aubrey Butte, those old houses were selling for $700,000-800,000.
Right.
Now it's 1.4 million.
Right.
1.7 million.
Well, Colleen's listing there on Starview, her clients up there they were the original owners of that property, and she put in. Did you sell it when it was in coming soon status, Colleen?
I did, no,
You had activated it
it was incoming soon for about a week.
a week, okay.
It's sold already.
And it sold after we listed.
Did they sell a lot with it?
That was, different price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they close?
No,
No.
it's not closed yet, but that's your case in point, Bill, what you're talking about, how those homes up in Aubrey Butte, and some of them, they look upon them as dated, and we were looking upon them as being way too big, too much air, and people were not looking. Now people want big homes again.
They are built with, typically
Yeah.
from really good builders.
Oh, yeah.
So anything in there is cosmetic only, so it's not.
Yeah.
High quality.
Yeah.
High quality build, which is kind of hard to find.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think about what the style of those Aubrey Butte homes were, a lot of wood. You know how expensive it is to replace those? I know it's not what people are looking for. Kate told me she had a client a couple years ago who bought one of those beautiful homes and painted all the wood out. It broke her heart, but it was what they wanted. They wanted that clean look and all that beautiful knotty wood that's everywhere.
I talked to a fellow,
Yeah.
just bought a house in Aubrey Butte, moved from Boston.
Mhm.
And he moved during the pandemic. He said, all I wanted was enough room to put the kids at that end of the house and have my office at this end and never have to see them all day. He said, that was the only house I could get. He said, I could afford a house in Northwest Crossing.
Yeah.
but they're too small.
Too small. And you think about the quality of homes that are being built today versus the ones that were built back in those days. I mean, the care and the craftsmanship that went into a lot of these
Solid wood doors,
beautiful,
solid doors,
yeah.
solid cabinets.
Yeah, I don't know if that will come back as a trend that people really like the wood again. I personally think it's gorgeous. It's expensive. It's
Solid materials.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
makes it just
Yeah.
sound home.
so the last slide I have here is just again the market penetration. So where has been Premier, and we're very solidly right here. I told you we were at 127 million right now in MLS because we double side some of the stuff. We're at 134 million. So that's year to date. And you know, there's been times in which 134 million. I mean, gosh, I remember the first year we actually broke 100 million in sales. It's like, and here this is just through May. You know, we have the rest of the year, and we're in our peak selling season right now. And so far this month, bless Emily and Brittany for how hard they worked while I was gone. I mean, the listings that we're getting and the multiple offers on things and the million. I mean, yesterday, didn't we have 5 of our listings go pending? Just like that. I mean, you can't keep track of, you know, and people are getting a lot of listings right now too, which is awesome. So it's pretty amazing what's happening in our market and what's happening with you guys. And I'm just so excited to be able to get back to having some culture and some, you know, seeing each other, maybe getting some events going again, some fun social things as we move forward. I'm hoping that the governor will open up the state. She's behind California for the first time, I think, because California now I understand is fully open.
Now, 67,000 more.
67,000 more.
So go back and get more.
What's the question? What's so magical at 70%? I don't know, versus 69 point whatever.
That's a federal guide.
Is that a federal guideline? Okay. So with this, I'd like to open up to haves and wants and things that you want to talk about. What are you seeing? And what do we have going? Joe, where are you with getting your house listed?
It's close.
It's close?
I'm waiting for the cottonwoods to quit.
Oh, so you're waiting for all the, okay.
Yeah, it's still, I thought the cottonwoods were gonna knock down much this year, but then they decided they'd be late. The house is pretty much done.
Okay.
Still waiting to get the boy out of the house.
That's a selling creature.
Yeah, it's comes with like a boy with it. So that house, if you ever, we'll have a brokers open for just within Premier pages. And
Gotta pay, of course.
It's 2.5 acres. It has a deeded river access. 2 acres in grass. Fully automated sprinkler system. The house is 3,400 and something square feet. Basically single level, contemporary style. A lot of renovation to the house. Probably about 4,000 feet of decking.
So you're going up 2.6.
Well, I want you to tell me. I want you
I'll
to
just buy it.
I want to have a broker's open and everybody telling me
Yeah.
what it's worth, what they think it's worth.
Where's it at?
Northwest, you know where Glen Vista?
Go north and we'll be right behind left and like this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, out will be right there. Glen Vista, take a left, another left on South Road, and then it's on a private. Get on the road.
Yeah, and Joe, you said that a portion of your property abuts city.
Yes, it's.
Yeah.
The eastern boundary of the property is the city. But it's in the county.
So what kind of water do you have? Well, or
Yeah, it's a shared well, 3 houses on it.
septic?
On septic, just have a septic pump and renovated some.
It's a really desirable area.
Yeah. The house at the end of the road, John Gist's house, he had it on the market for 10 years, 2.3, and he just sold it. And we just met the people who bought it, who came from Portola Valley, sold the house in Portola Valley for 4.5. So it's like,
So they're downsizing.
this jump change.
Yeah.
But I'll let everybody over. Party of some kind.
Hey, party at Joe's house, a cultural, that should be fun. Should be.
0085 Cheney Road.
So Joe's gonna be one of the Oregonians who moves to Arizona.
That's right.
Yeah.
Building out there?
Yeah.
Did you go to Flagstaff or
No, we're going to
Prescott?
Yeah.
So, right.
There's a lot of big people out.
Yeah, our lot is 5,600. 30 foot altitude.
That'd be good.
That's cool.
It's higher than here.
Yeah, it's higher, but it's lower latitude.
Does-
Anyway, it's gonna be a nice house. Everybody, somebody from this office should sell it.
You have that right.
Yeah.
It's a cool house, I've seen it.
That's right, yeah.
Does anyone else have any haves or wants? Or any?
I have a new listing on Newport. It's at the corner of, it's the second house in from Newport and 14th. And super cute. The home was built 1 story, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1977. Definitely needs some updates. It's had a long-term tenant in there. And then it's got an ADU on the backside above a 2-car carport that was built in 2009, I think. So super cute, vaulted ceilings, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. ADU as well. And that's at $749.9, and it hasn't had the amount of action we thought it would. And I'm guessing
Surprised.
when you look, oh, you think 14th and Newport, that's so busy, but they've got a really nice garden area in front of the house that fronts Newport, but it's all gated. You can't see any cars that go by. And so, and
You can't
because
see into the
everybody
house.
slows down at the roundabout, it's actually, I mean, you can still hear cars, but it's actually really quiet. It's not fast moving traffic. So I think I just need to get people in there. I think, obviously that tenant in the bottom is paying pretty low rent, and it needs a little bit of updating in the downstairs unit. But if you have any investors, or I think you could get probably $2,000 a month for the bottom, and up top, eventually we could get up to, they're at $875 right now. If they were to leave, you could get them to leave, you could be around $1,500 there.
I thought it was sold.
Me too. I'm amazed. It's been really slow. I put 2 on that day, and one of them I got 2 offers sight unseen, and then the other one,
Well, there's a lot of messy construction detours in that area.
that's a nightmare over there right now. I live there.
Are you gonna have an open house?
I thought about doing an open house, but the parking is really weird, and then the tenant upstairs has 2 cats, and I don't know how to be in 2 places at once. And there's no the parking, you have to park in the alleyway or all the way down on 15. So to have multiple, people won't really know where to park. I've thought about it. Just trying to think about how you could park.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, let me know if you have to get your in again.
Great.
It's a cute house.
Anything else?
Just, I've got that big house in Prineville,
And when's that gonna hit the market?
and I finally sent all the documents in this morning to you. So I've got all the listing documents done, but I can't show the house or take pictures till they declutter. So I took your advice, Colleen. I called Tendy to the rescue to go out and try to get this place decluttered. It'll take several semi-trailers
Okay.
to get the stuff out. And there's so much stuff there at high value that it's borderline order.
Yeah.
But high value stuff, like 3 brand new refrigerators.
Yeah.
And shelving and desks and all that.
Yeah.
So I've got to get that out, and I don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Tell them to get it out, so. That one there, we're gonna go to 1.275 million. It's 5,338 square feet house, and the shop's 2,880 square feet. It's on a hillside, it's got 360 views, it's just gorgeous views.
And Sherry,
It's 1.2 miles out of downtown Prineville.
so is you gonna go, what was the price again?
1.275.
That's good. That's
I
good.
think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I would have said no, but today's market, it might be underpriced.
You'll find out once you hit
It's
the market.
Prineville, that's the.
That's the difference. Prineville's a great area. I mean,
It's a beautiful home,
I-
if you're looking for an estate style home,
Yeah.
and maybe if you're a collector of vehicles or something, the garage area is just phenomenal.
Mhm.
Brand brand spanking new type place.
That's great. Lots of options
Just
here.
gotta get the stuff out.
I know Sherry's got a new listing in Tethrow on Kindle Rock, right? And so I think she's getting ready for photos and things like that out there. She's going to be hitting the market with that one pretty soon. I priced it at 2 million, is that right? No, 1.4, almost 1.5, shy of 1.4, shy of 1.5. Excuse me. Yeah.
When can we put in coming soon before we have to go to MLS?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
And then it automatically goes to MLS.
Yes, and if it's your client's not ready, then we have to basically put it in withdrawn status and then just leave it in withdrawn
Sure.
until you're ready for it to provide.
All right.
I have one more want.
Yeah.
A short-term rental up to 2 million. Can't find it, so if anybody knows it.
Short-term rental up to 2 million.
But it needs to have, what's that?
That's a good budget for one.
I know, right? There's nothing out there. So yeah, if you have anything coming or and they want it to be able to rent back for a high amount too, so.
Well, yeah, if they want to rent back, I mean, up to 2 million. So they're looking at anything up to 2 million. Is that right? You may want to talk to Kathy Hovermail. She kind of has her fingers on the pulse of a lot of stuff like that. She's kind of an expert on things.
She should be listing her own.
She will be.
person,
She will be listing.
short-term rental.
Her personal home is a short-term rental. It's been grandfathered in.
Where's that?
It's off of,
Contour line?
yeah,
Obi Riley.
off of Obie Riley.
Archie Briggs and then onto that little street terminal line.
Yeah.
It's on
It's tucked in there.
Yeah. It's not going to be anywhere near 2 million. I'm sure she'd be happy to take 2 million.
No, it was amazing when she listed it, she couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
It was just that period of
Yeah,
time that was nothing.
Her husband's building their new home at the coast, and so he's starting to get the walls up, so she's pretty excited about that, so.
She's in that tough little area
Uh-huh.
that's surrounded by commercials. There's-
Right.
So
Yeah.
you've got kids, you've got nowhere
Yeah.
to go.
Jane?
Yeah, I've got a buy at the riverfront, but up to 2. So, but he'll be
Might
cash.
take 2.
Yeah. He's a cash buyer.
Yeah.
Is he working right? He's got friends on Mill Pond, on the pond, the Bear Pond.
You're not gonna hurt
And he wants to be close to kind of like the trails. He's a Kansas City
Okay.
fellow right now. So that's another place that you could say that comes from. Yeah, he's been out before looking at property.
Okay.
We actually saw a Renoir and 2 Matisses in one house.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Real ones?
yeah.
Whoa.
Up on overview.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. It's surprising what you find though in houses.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Today I have a Zoom meeting, and so you guys can actually give me some ideas here. This is the OAR strategic planning meeting. It's a very long meeting. It's going to be from 12 to 4 on a Zoom call. Excuse me, 11 to 4. It's 11 to 4. That's right. Yeah. So it's strategic planning. So from your perspective as agents who are working in the market, for what do you personally see that the state association should be strategically planning for? In my opinion, we need inventory. That is, what impact can we as an organization have in getting more inventory into our state? But what are you guys seeing? OAR looks at things like broker development. They look at things like what can they be doing for fair housing. They look at things along those lines. But do you have any ideas of things that you?
I think one of the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
challenges for us is how long it takes to get something approved, to develop, to build houses on.
Yeah.
You're talking, Louis was saying it was 5 years to
Yep.
get that development he's doing over up on Westgate.
Right.
And it should not take 5 years.
It shouldn't. I agree.
There's no reason in the world, and it's taking years and years and years, so that inventory is just simply not available to the market.
Mhm.
And if OAR had any ability to influence the state government on the regulations,
And they do to a certain extent. That's through the political action committee. And those are the things where they push the pressure on the politicians who are making the laws. And they support politicians like Jack, who is pro real estate, pro
I
development.
think it's, a lot of this is city government.
It's city governments, it's also statewide planning. And so much of what we can do within our city is determined upon what LUBA and the state governments, the land use organizations in Salem can say. And that goes back to the 1970s when Tom McCall was the governor and he was afraid of urban sprawl. He didn't want Oregon to turn into Southern California with cities rolling into each other and wanted to protect farmland. That's kind of the whole thing that started. But what can we as an organization do to encourage rational, reasonable development?
Being
Yeah.
efficient. For example, in today's market, they include golf courses as developable land. When we put the UGB in, golf courses all in Bend were included in the developable land. So now when Polish goes and builds out over at River's Edge, people scream bloody blue murder.
Right.
Truth of the matter is the city said that's developable land.
Right.
Polish is just gonna go and develop it.
Right.
And 350 homes.
Yeah.
3,000 cars a day coming on to Washington Drive
Right.
intersection.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that's weird.
And the fact, yeah, and the fact that you have now the city council pushing for not parking, the
I think that's also being driven by the desire to develop the core area,
right,
where the limitation was there was no parking for the lots on all those small stores. So people wanted to build residences above the stores, but couldn't do it because the parking wasn't adequate for the residents and the store.
right.
So all those lots are dead to the city council.
But now the push is now to eliminate the need for
If the parking's gone, then they can develop.
But what's going to happen to people who drive in? Because it seems like the push is to encourage people to take mass transportation or to walk. And we all know that this is an area that has snow and people don't take the bus. The bus doesn't have stops.
People come
There's
in.
nobody on those buses.
I know.
that ride around.
I know.
I see one,
Can't take it back.
two people.
Yeah.
and then right.
Crowdboard, okay.
Or even, when I had kids, my kids, as Emily knows, took the bus to school. But how many parents actually took their kids themselves, drove them there and picked them up every single day?
Bear Creek, and it's ridiculous during pickup hours.
Uh-huh.
There are just cars that block the entire street, so you can't go, and they just stop there in the middle of the road, back up, because they're all trying to turn into Bear Creek.
Yeah.
Picks up one kid.
Right.
One kid, yeah.
Right, so they don't carpool, they don't do that. And this is the rationale, even though they do have very active bus systems that drop your kids off exactly where they need to go, people just don't use them.
Well, the kids don't want to ride it. My kids didn't want to. They called it the shame train because nobody was on them.
Emily, were you on the Shane train?
Oh, I had great friends on that bus, it was so much fun. We had the parties in the back, and it was great.
So that's great. I mean, maybe if they made it mandatory or something.
The kids on my street go buy on those model wheels.
Yeah.
The skateboards. I think they're like $900 each.
Yeah.
Just see them whipping down
Yeah.
the
That's
road.
what everyone used their stimulus money on.
That's right.
Well, the issue, I think, is going to be what has been going to turn into. And then what can we as a state and a local organization do to impact what's happening? I mean, we need housing desperately, as we all know.
We need low income.
We desperately need low income housing, absolutely.
And of course, doing that part,
Mhm.
but I think that we need to have more advocacy
Yeah,
for people that don't make the median income.
right.
Everybody's trying to hire right now.
Yeah.
And the basic worker can't afford to live here.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
McDonald's is paying $17 an hour.
That's an anomaly. When I lived in Chicago, there was an area I wanted to live in. I couldn't afford to live there. So I had to live in another area I could afford to live in.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to live in Bend, you can't afford to live in Bend. And you can't subsidize the housing because you cannot distort the market. If you put subsidized housing out, people are going to sell it and make money.
Well, that's true. So,
Turn their subsidized housing into income for themselves.
but then the thing is, we still have to have people to work the entry level jobs.
Then businesses will pay more.
They have to pay
They
more.
will have to pay
It will
more.
reflect on all of us too, as inflation goes up.
That's right. And we are seeing inflation, that's for sure. Okay, so talking about allowing a development to happen. And,
Or expediting the development that can be approved.
right. Right.
Right now,
It's
there's
all-
no urgency to
It's
it.
it's all stuck in regulation. My concern also is what's happening to, we all talk about us being in a drought, but also what's happening to water. And if you ever drive through Jefferson County right now and you look at all those fallow farms, I feel terrible for those people. I mean, some of those are century farms and they've been in the families forever and they're high producing crops and they're not getting water. And yes, we're in a drought, but we're also, it's created by the advocacy of environmentalists for the spotted frog to have water flowing through the Deschutes River in the wintertime when we normally be storing it up for summer use.
But you know what, the chamber had this whole topic addressed recently, and a lot of the big farms that have the first water rights, they're getting their water,
They are.
whether they use it or not.
Yeah.
And they obviously will never be willing to give up a portion of their rights.
Right.
And so they're taking a lot more than what they actually need.
Right.
And I think it was, of the water that is used in Central Oregon, I think it was 17% was actual household, people.
Mhm.
And the rest of it was agriculture.
And the efficiency of the water wheels spewing the water out, very inefficient. There's so much evaporation that happens with this, so they can develop crops that keep the water down lower. I
The
mean,
hemp farms are actually doing really well because they're all drip systems.
but hemp is depressed right now, and that's why
But
hemp
as far
farm.
as water usage,
Yes, that's
it
true.
uses very little.
That's true. Very, very much water efficient farming in comparison to crops like alfalfa, hay that just spews the water everywhere. Also the canals, the more that the canals are actually piped, less seepage through the canals, all that stuff is things that I am though concerned about that. I mean, we're losing our water in Mountain High. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So again, all of the developments where I live in Southeast Bend, our irrigation is shutting off the water in the middle of July. We're losing all of our water. Yep, it will be shut off at that point in time. And so we're already now on rationed water starting this week. So we have water twice a week. Yes, all of Mountain High is irrigated water. Everyone's on irrigation.
We need a second system.
I have a septic system because my husband's a builder, and when we built the house, set in a check valve system so we can water our grass domestically. But the common area is all by irrigation water, and so, yeah.
Just got back from building, and there's this house, my daughter lives on a golf course, and one of the houses there, he loves it, you can tell he loves his toys. And there was this automated mower that looked like something out of Batman that goes 24/7.
Oh.
Cuts the urge by the street and on his grass.